Welcome to the All Creatures Podcast. This is Chris, and I just want to set up this interview that I was very fortunate to be able to conduct with the filmmakers of a documentary. And this isn't just your average nature documentary. This is actually Hollywood looking at conservation, and specifically a conservation center, or even more specifically, the Gibbons Conservation Center here in Southern California. I was fortunate to be able to go to a special screening of this film, and the film's called Violet is Blue, A Tale of Gibbons and Guardians, and it was held at the LA Film School, and didn't really know what to expect walking into this movie. And let me just tell you, I was astounded. It was such a fascinating look at a conservation center and the struggles of not only the wildlife, so in this particular instance, gibbons, which, if you've listened to the podcast this week, you understand they're under a tremendous amount of pressure in Asia, like many other species in that part of the world. And this conservation center actually houses some of the most endangered gibbons on Earth. So it was a very fascinating look at not only the gibbon story, because they're really the stars of the film, but also specifically looking at the people that take care of the gibbons and actually the incredible sacrifices they do each day to take care of these animals. It was a fascinating film. The film was directed by Alex Azmi, and he's an Emmy award-winning documentary filmmaker. So he has the credentials to actually go in and make a quality movie, which I was, like I said, very fortunate to see and was just touched. I mean, really touched after watching this movie. So I was able to interview Alex, and then also Michael Tao, who was a producer, and then also Gabby Skolar, who is actually the director of the Gibbons Conservation Center. Now, just last week, I was able to actually make the trek. The Gibbons Conservation Center is actually located in Santa Clarita, which is about 30 minutes north of Los Angeles here in California. And Gabby actually took me around, and if you follow us on Instagram, you saw I actually posted some of the gibbons singing and some of the pictures that were coming out of there. And just talking to her for 2 hours, I just really admire her and her staff. I mean, she has a small staff that anybody working in conservation knows it's a labor of love. You know, these are folks that are not making a great deal of money. They do this because they love the animals and they believe in what they're doing. And Gabby is a conservation hero, period. It's the Gibbons Conservation Center is one of the few centers on Earth. There's a few in Asia, and then the one here in the United States that house some of these endangered species. And to talk to her and walk around and see these gibbons up close and personal, to hear them sing for, I think, over a half hour was just amazing. So we were fortunate enough to schedule an interview with them. It's on a conference call, so that's a little bit different from our normal interviews, especially with 4 people all on at once. So please excuse some of the audio. It's still just a fascinating look to talk to Hollywood, basically, and their views on conservation and their views on making this film. Now, I will just touch really quickly that the film is being shown at many film festivals. It just came out this year. So listen to the filmmakers discuss it, where it's being shown and really what they're trying to do with this film. But I hope you really enjoy this interview. And then just a final note, again, since this was a conference call, which was new for us to record, I was a little late pressing record on one of my options, which ended up being the best recording we had. So basically, I just came in and asked the filmmakers what this film was primarily about. So you join in with Alex starting about from his perspective on the film and really what they were trying to accomplish. So I hope you enjoy it.
The primary gibbon, her name is Violet, which we named the film after. Violet is a very rambunctious female. She's very lovely, and she seems to be getting herself in trouble all the time. There's another couple of gibbons I just would like to talk about him briefly. There's one, his name is Nate. Nate is a young gibbon, and he's upset that his mom is attracted to a male gibbon that is not his father, and he's doing everything to screw up the relationship. There is Pepper, she's an orphan. She's a young female who's very intelligent and who, after her mother's death, grew up to take the leadership of the group. This is in the Gibbons time, but these are not individual stories, but really a part of a society of both people in Gibbons. There's the story of the center itself, how it came about. The founder of the center, a man with vision and with mission, who started the vision. The center since have struggled at different levels and faced many challenges. A few women with the leadership of Gabi came together and decided to save the center. And we tell the story of how they came about that and the hard work that they have done. Hard work that's not glamorous, hard work that is very difficult in the desert, in harsh conditions, with very little compensation, very little resources, almost driven entirely by love and conviction for the mission. So we tried to put that all together as a bunch of stories on the front, but underneath it, there is a lot of educational material. A person will learn about the flight of the Gibbons in the wild, what's happening to them, will know how the center came about, and so there's stories up front, and then there's several stories underneath.
And I'm just going to say, just jump in real quick before Michael goes. I caught that. Like, sitting in that movie theater watching that, the emotions, I felt them. And, I even teared up a couple times at some spots. So, yeah, beautiful filmmaking, beautiful story. It's something we'll be pushing, but I just wanted to jump in real quick and say yes. For what Alex just said, times 100. It's an amazing, amazing story. So Michael, what did from your perspective?
I don't know. Alex did a pretty good job. Did a pretty good job of it. I also edited the film, and with documentaries, a documentary is different than a scripted film because you're actually writing the script after the fact. You take all the interviews and you put them together, and you decide if you need any more interviews or any more footage and stuff like that. But it was the film. You could probably start right here. The film was the interweaving of these different stories. Some are funny, some are harrowing, some are uplifting, and some are about these just amazing personalities, the Gibbons. And you understand a lot about, I guess, their physiology and the science. But it was, it was about making something that really is an emotional subject matter, fun to experience and enjoy. I also want to point out that it was shot in 4K, so Chris, you saw it in the theater where we were projecting it in 4K, and that's why you could see on those nice big close-ups.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Gabby got,
yeah, it was beautiful.
Every hair and every dried piece of food on the mustache.
Yeah. So, Gabby, you're the director of the center, and a lot of this, you're right, is about your story too, not just the Gibbons. And it's, I just gotta say bravo to you, because the way Alex painted it and Michael reinforced it, it really, what you do is a labor of love. Anybody that works in conservation knows, you're not getting wealthy. Sometimes you're going to struggle to pay your bills. So what you do because you love it and you love what you do. So from your perspective, what really was the purpose of the film, and, what did you get out of it, or what did you see from it?
So, to me, the most important part is just kind of tell the story of my, last 40 years, especially the last 7 years, what we went through, because while we were doing it, we didn't think about much. We just kept working and doing what needed to be done. But looking it back on the movie, it was very emotional. And just preparing for the movie and talking with Alex and kind of telling him the story was also very emotional, because you have to keep kind of remembering things and bringing it up and thinking about it, how he was. And so that part was very emotional and important to just kind of tell the story, because the people who come through and they see the center, they just see these smiling people talking about the Gibbons, but they don't know what's behind it, the hard work and everything. So I think it's important that at least once somebody tell the story of that. And then it also told that why we doing it. Like, it told the story about Pepper and Violet, and we have these Gibbons here. They're all different. They all have different personality, and they can be annoying. They can be fun. They're going through their own dramas, and they all have their own story to kind of tell, and we kind of helping them tell the story of Pepper and Violet, and it's all kind of intertwined. So it's just a fascinating story that just very low people know about it.
I mean, it is.
I don't know.
You captured it. When you study these animals and you know, study different species, and they all have, you talk to people that work with them day in, day out. I mean, even reptiles, people say reptiles have personalities. But when you get into, you know...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, higher order primates, talk about personality, my goodness.
And we do it for them. Like, that's why we do the work. That's why we don't... It's not really work. It's our passion, because we love these animals and we care about them. And that's... I think that's why we are here.
Right.
I asked Gabby the first time I met her, and she was showing me around the center, what percentage of her time is spent being a psychologist, and she said 75%. Psychologist of the Gibbons.
Right.
Yeah, and we have to understand them. Have to understand their needs and their behaviors to be able to care for them. And because they are all unique and they have their own issues, and we just kind of have to adjust to that. Yeah.
Right. And that's something I definitely want to talk to you about, is Gibbon behavior. I'll focus on the film on this one.
Yeah.
And so maybe this to Alex, if, you know, you can tell our audience, you know, we have listeners from all over the world, why should they see this film, or really what's the core message of the film?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. So essentially, your question is really two parts. So let me answer. First, how the film came about, and then what is the message of the film. The film came about, I went to the center several years ago, and saw the tour, and was literally blown away by the story that was told about the Gibbons. The elements of the stories are the ones that we can relate to it very closely, like love, hate, friendship, jealousy, things that are very interesting stories, and really were an eye-opener for me, that these are about the Gibbons. You can take these very stories and just replace it with people, and you will not know any different. So about a year ago, I went to the center again, met with Gabi, and asked her if she would be interested to collaborate about the documentary. She agreed. With Alicia, she was very interested, in part because there's a lot of interesting stories, but also more importantly, she wanted to educate the public about the plight of the Gibbons, and that they're endangered, and that there are things that are very small that all of us can do here and there that can help the Gibbons in the wild. So that's how the film started. Michael came on board and was just tremendous, both vision, creation, hard work. It is really, really hard in the instant.
Keep on going.
I apologize. I'm sorry, I didn't get what you said. Okay, so I'll continue. In terms
I
of
said, keep on going.
Oh, okay. No, I'm going to change topic. In terms of the message of the film, it's layered. I mean, on the surface of the stories of the people and the Gibbons and the center and the founder and so on, but really underneath it is that these Gibbons are endangered and that they need help. That some of the numbers that I learned from during the film, that out of 20 species, 19 are in trouble, are either endangered, critically endangered, or close to extinction altogether. So really, to put it in different words, only 5% of the species of the Gibbons are not in trouble. So we wanted to convey this message and also indirectly tell people very little about what they can do to help. Hopefully to intrigue their interest and they can take it from there.
It's, and I'm going to kind of jump ahead to a question. I know it's a little bit down the list, but it made me think of it while you were talking. And Alex, you're an Emmy Award-winning director, and Michael, you've been involved in many major films. And Gabby's life is the Gibbons Center and conservation, and what I do is conservation at Gibbons Center. So, from your perspective as artists, how does filmmaking, or from your perspective, how can that help? Not just the documentaries that we see with Planet Earth and things that the BBC are kicking out, or Nat Geo, or those things. How can it help spread the conservation message?
In my opinion, so let me start, and then Michael can jump in, and then Gabby is really the expert. The one that we can reach an audience, but we can also reach the audience, a wider audience, and reach them in both intellectual and emotional level. We will be able to give people a message of what is happening and how dire the situations are, but also get them emotionally involved enough to go and take an action. It could be an action as a volunteer an organization or donate, but also more likely to be an action that if you have two different products in the market, pick the one that is more environmentally friendly. If you are in a tour in a different country, be ecologically aware. Don't take pictures with the small animals that somebody will come in and ask you to pay so for the animals to pause with you. These are not good for the animals. They're not good for nature. It encourages hunting. And we can convey these messages via the film, and people will get it, hopefully will remember it when it really counts, when they're in these situations.
Right. Then Michael, from your perspective?
I agree that...
Oh, sorry, Gabby. Go ahead, Gabby. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so agree. So we have maybe a couple of thousand people come through the center every year, but with this documentary and other documentaries can reach a wider audience. And once they hear these stories, and people are so visual, so it's easier for them to relate to something that they can actually see. And once they see and relate to them, they're going to care about them. It's just that kind of connection. It's not like if you just read something and you educate people, if something will stick, and most of the stuff won't stick. Or you tell people don't do this, don't do that. It's just people change when they care about something and they want to help something because they saw pepper in a movie and they learn about pepper. They're going to look into more and they want to protect their species, and then they're going to make some changes in their life when they go to shopping or they are traveling because they care about pepper. I think that's something that through art you can get people connected easier.
For sure.
I guess it's my turn.
Yeah.
So I thought that rather than making a dry, factual kind of, interview-based I mean, it is interview-based, but rather than making a dry documentary that is very dour, I thought that making something that's entertaining and is a roller coaster of again, what I said earlier, humor and adversity and inspiration and loss would be easier. I mean, just better movie making will work for the two different things that Alex and Gabby said, and we strove to do that. Luckily, we had, the Gibbons are very entertaining and very funny in a lot of ways. They do very funny things and very funny personalities. So making a better movie and more entertaining also helps all that. And Gabby's totally right about that. It's, people don't want to sit down and read, 480 pages of the Mueller report. They just want to see the movie. Should I phrase that in a different, should I not do that? Yeah. People don't want to sit down and read a book about Gibbons when they can just watch and get entertained. It still has the same driving effect of the environmental stuff, which is specifically palm oil. I can do the palm oil thing unless Gabby wants to do it. But I also want to point out another thing as well too, and maybe this again may come from Gabby, but the Gibbon Conservation Center breeds really rare species. These are the rare species that Alex was referring to, the ones that are really getting down to very small numbers. And each of these species, as I worked on this, they look totally different. I'm sure that they act totally different as well too. I haven't spent days hanging out with two Gibbons and seeing how they, but they're breeding the rare species. This is really getting down to scraping the barrel of what's left. And that's not answering your question, but
no. I mean, it does, and I think highlighting that in a film that was entertaining, and at the end of it, I was like, "Whoa, that's it!" It flew by. I blinked, and I was so engrossed in it, and just so very well done. I mean, just very, very well done. And I thought you told their story of this, not only the center, but the Gibbons to an effect. Why it's important, why this message is important. So bravo. My question is for the three of you, and I don't know, I would be interested to hear from Gabby, I guess, first, is did you learn anything surprising when making the movie? Like, there's anything that came out of it that surprised you?
For me?
Yeah, we'll start with you. And then, we'll start with Gabby and then go our way through. But for you personally, making this movie, did you learn anything that, wow, I didn't know that?
Well, I mean, as I was doing it, I was learning about filming them. Yeah. That's very important for me because I'm a scientist too, and I want to document their behavior, their vocalization. And as I was doing these recordings, and Michael was giving me inputs and feedback and whatever, I was just practicing on my own. I was recording doing that and was practicing doing that. And of course I spent a lot of time outside, but with the camera I spent even more time outside and tried to get shots. So just little details, just things about I was up very early morning to try to get a recording of Pepper, and I was watching her getting started and just listening how she's not just getting started and getting the other Gibbons starting their song. Just throughout her singing, she was constantly each changing and just kind of leading the whole morning song at the center. So those were things that I wanted to go back the next day and collect more recordings, getting more data for my own research. Mm-hmm. So, yes.
Yeah. And I guess, Alex or Michael, is there anything from your perspective that, you knew about the Gibbon Conservation Center, but anything making this documentary, you just, at the end of it, you were just like, wow, I just did not know that.
Yes, as a matter of fact. So the very act of the documentary is a discovery. It's different from narrative films where there's a script and you know what you're going to do. In documentary, you'll learn it as you go. You're discovering things as you go. And in my case, it was extremely, extremely educational, eye-opener, very interesting. It was great to learn about the different Gibbons, about their personalities, about the center. Everything that is in the film, I actually learned while we're doing the film itself. I knew, obviously, that the Gibbons are endangered, but I didn't know that the situation is that dire. Learned that in the film, and learned a whole bunch of other things. For me, it was really both an educational and a great experience.
And then, Michael, do you have anything to add?
Well, I mean, I didn't know anything about this, so Alex had a leading
And a coffee
leg
shop.
up, a leg up before I came on, so I didn't know anything about it. But one thing that we haven't said out loud, and we need to say, is what is a Gibbon? A Gibbon, and Abby, correct me if I'm wrong, a Gibbon is a small singing ape. And they're, about 2.5 feet tall? Maybe when they're singing. So they're small, too. And they're beautiful. Mm-hmm. They're beautiful. And so different looking. And they change colors as they mature. Gabby was telling me a certain species starts out, their color turns lighter when they get to be teenagers, and then when they get older, then they go back to being dark again. Or I didn't know anything about any of the subject matter when I started. Alex introduced me to all of it. Gabby took me under her wing and told me more.
No, they're amazing animals. I mean, just fascinating creatures. So I guess kind of getting some of the nuts and bolts of the filmmaking, you mentioned it earlier that Gabby got some of the workable footage. Can you talk about that? Like how difficult it was to film them? From not only your perspective as filmmakers, but Gabby, you in there with I guess your phone, which it turned out beautifully.
No.
She had a camera.
We gave her a 4K camera.
Okay. Oh, she had a camera.
I got big cameras. I also use my phone for some shots. So, and we take care of them, and we have social media, especially Instagram. We post short videos and pictures, and I just set my phone to record 4K, and some of the shots were just like fun activities or something while it was rolling on the floor or something. Mm-hmm. Those were recorded with my phone and just stick it through the fence and just started recording. But then I also did shots with the big camera, and either from inside or some of the shots I was trying to get Pepper singing. Some other ones were just put the camera right up to the fence, to the chain link, and just shoot through the fence. Mm-hmm. So what makes it difficult that they don't sit still for like a few seconds. They're always moving. It's hard to focus on them. And then the other things, like you try to record one gibbon and the other one at the same time, putting on your hair, and it's hard to keep still. Yeah. So, but I think it was fun. And then we did some shots with the GoPro that we attached it to the fence inside the enclosure, and that was also easy in some ways, but it was recorded like hours of footage. Right.
And
not easy for the editor.
That's what I was gonna.
Yeah,
that was next. So Michael,
we have probably 20 hours of GoPro, and the Gibbons are in frame for like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Every 3 or 4 minutes, and I'm the type of guy that will sit there and watch all of it. I mean, not in real time. I'll speed up till I see some movement and go back and then look at it. But I look at every usable frame. Those GoPros were something.
Yeah.
That's some really fun stuff, though.
So how many, I mean, I think in the Q&A after the film, you answered this, but how many hours of film did you actually produce? And then to get that edited down to 40 minutes, I mean, the hours of work is just incredible.
Again, there was a lot of interview footage, and there was a lot of GoPro footage. There wasn't as much of what we call standard B-roll, and a lot of it we got after the fact. So we knew exactly what we needed here and there. So that wasn't that much, but the editing process is always. I think a regular film is like a 100-to-1 ratio. Documentaries probably could be more.
Right. Right.
But I can't really give you an exact
number. It's many thousands. I think is what you said. It was a lot.
But Alex can probably tell you how many terabytes of footage, terabytes of data there was in his.
Right.
It's significant. Between the raw data will be between 2 to 3 terabytes.
Wow. Now, I know I didn't give you this question, but I just wanted to ask it, Alex. Your vision for this film, as a director, right? You maybe explain to our audience, what your role is as a director of a film or a documentary, but you took this vision and then at the end, you and Michael kind of worked it into a story. Is that correct?
It took several iterations, but essentially, in all of the first meeting with Gabi about the film, Violet's name came up, and then there were several Gibbons stories. But then also the several stories about the center, how it came about, and the different challenges, and some are very interesting stories. And what we wanted to do is mix these stories with some educational material. And the word we were using at the time is kind of like a spoonful of educational material every so long. So people will not get bored, will be able to get the educational material, but will not be in your face. Mm-hmm. Putting the stories together now, the idea was how you can tell so many stories that in a linear way. And we decided not to do it in a linear way. We decided, as probably when you've seen the film, that we're telling some main stories that go from the beginning of the film all the way to the end, and then the shorter stories that start and end throughout the film itself. So I had this outline and kind of a story set with Michael very, very early on, and we discussed it several times, and Michael revised a couple of times, and that's how we ended with the final cut in a very collaborative manner.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, where is Violet is Blue being shown now? Or I know you mentioned a few weeks ago when I saw it that you'd submitted it to some film festivals. Is there anywhere where it's going to be shown in the future? And then I guess just talk about the future of the documentary, where you want to take it?
Well, absolutely. So as you mentioned, we submitted to several festivals. We've been really fortunate. It won several awards, and we were very gratified with that. In the upcoming month, it will be shown in the Santa Cruz Film Festival in October. That is a great festival, and if you're in the area, please stop by. I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful festival and a beautiful location in California. Also will be shown in the Wild Animal Conservation Film Festival, which is in New York.
Wildlife
Conservation Film Festival. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my apology. Again, one of the prominent film festivals in this arena, and we were very fortunate to be selected. And we knew yesterday, actually, that we were selected in the Aryan International Film Festival in Jaipur, India. So that is in the short term. In the long term, we are looking for distributor, and hoping that it will make its way to to Netflix, Amazon Prime, and maybe some of the TV networks.
I can add to that. So there were some questions after the screening about where people can see it locally. We're talking to the LA Zoo. They have a nice theater there, and we're trying to figure out a place, time, how they're going to organize that. But they're interested in this. Also, that's in Los Angeles. The Wildlife International Film Festival that Alex referred to is in New York City. That's October as well, too. But then there's also going to, we think there's going to be a screening that's involved in a local, moderated by a local film festival. Alex, what's the name of it?
It's LA Shorts. We're still talking to them about that, yes.
So I suggest that in the short term, people can stay abreast of this on our website, the film's website, which is violetisbluedoc.com. All one word, violetisbluedoc, short for documentary. But Alex is being a little modest. So we have actually been selected by, 15 film festivals so far. We only finished the film in April, and it's only August now. A lot of the film festivals, their notification, if you're selected or not, is farther down the road. So we'll know more about those film festivals in the coming months. And then because of a new film's year, and I'm just pointing out that it's only 4 months old, our baby, and our little baby Gibbon. I'm sure Gabby can get into that in a couple seconds. There's film festivals that you can't even apply to because of the timing of when a film was done until in October. They won't be open for submissions until October. So there's, it's going to be a whole calendar year with the film festivals. But we also are planning on doing more screenings locally. And locally, Los Angeles is a point that I wanted to make. The Gibbons Center is only 30 minutes away from Los Angeles, and no one in Los Angeles knows about it. It's a hidden secret right underneath everyone's feet, or under their nose, or under their paw. And everyone that's local should see the movie if they can, or definitely check out the Gibbons Center because it's so close.
For sure. And it's definitely one that, we're going to talk a lot about, and the work that we're doing here in the United States and then also globally. But, it's a story that needs to be told, I think. It's these conservation centers, not just here in the United States, but, in India or in Indonesia, Australia, all around the world, struggling to save these animals. And again, just to reinforce what this film's about, the team, the small team that day in, day out works to save these animals. It's just an amazing story. Can't talk highly enough about it. One of the things I wanted to ask, I guess the filmmakers, but maybe even Gabby, from her perspective, like now out there, showing this film, but do you have a new appreciation, and you've kind of hinted at it, in this interview, but a new appreciation for conservation, and then just specifically new appreciation for conservation and what gibbons are facing in the wild? Maybe start with Alex.
Gabby, the question is for you.
Okay, yeah, or Gabby. Yeah.
Yes. Can you please repeat the question?
Yeah. So after making this film, going through this process, and do you have a new appreciation for what you do and for the gibbons and the story that you told?
Maybe appreciation for the work we do. I don't know, probably. That's it's almost like realizing like how much we do and what we do, kind of thinking about what more we can do. Also, Yeah, probably.
Well,
Sometimes just real. Yes.
I was just gonna. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's just from your perspective, when you're in there day in day out, I don't think you appreciate what you do.
Yeah.
I just don't think you do. Talking to conservation.
No, we just do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like
yeah.
From your perspective, you wake up early in the morning, you go out and take care of your animals, and you go to bed late at night, get some sleep, and you repeat the process day in, day out. So from an outsider's perspective, it's an amazing story of what you do and what you do for these animals. And, what we call you is a conservation hero. And we say everybody can be a conservation hero. Just say no to a straw, you're being a conservation hero. But you're a true conservation hero. You're saving species. You're fighting hard day in, day out. So I don't know if you got that appreciation after seeing the film and you're like, wow, what I do is kind of cool.
I think I did, but it's just for one night we were like celebrating, we were heroes, and the next thing, like, we can't think about too much. We have to go back to work. Right. So we don't think about too much, but I think it was very important to have that night and see it and just be a hero for that, and then I don't know, just go back to do what we do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess for the three of you, did you have any favorite moments making the film? I guess we start with Alex.
So let me start. Yes, I do. The recording of the interviews. This is where we'll really get into stories, and that was just really tremendous. One particular day, I got to take some recording of Violet, the one that the film is about, and Truman, the Gibbon that they are together now. And I spent most of the day recording there. And in a way, I have planned that from the very beginning. When I was going to the different tours, was thinking how wonderful it would be to just go one day and not do anything, just like film the Gibbons and not do anything. And that for me, that was very special. So that's in the recording side. After the screening, the first time, Chris is the chairman of the chairwoman of the Gibbon, of the board of the Gibbon Center. She had seen the film for the first time in San Jose, and then Michael and I were talking to her afterward, and she mentioned a particular scene. The scene was there was devastation after a large fire in California, a significant fire, significant devastation, and after the fire was done, she was driving, trying to see if she can help somebody. And we have recreated the drive, but she have not seen it. We just, we knew the story, and then we recreated that drive and the fire and so on. She had seen it afterwards, and she said that it reminded her very much of exactly what happened. She felt strongly about it, kind of emotional, and that was like reinforcing that. But it was just kind of gratifying to hear that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Michael, do you have any favorite moments when you made the film?
Pretty much every time that I went up there, and I mean, I spent days, shooting pickup shots, not necessarily of the Gibbons, but of all the other things. And there's one Gibbon, his name is Pierre, and when I was walking past his cage the first time, he started making this little chatter, and I thought, oh, wow, he likes me. And Daddy said, no, that means he doesn't like you. And so every time I had to walk from where my equipment was to a different location to get this shot or that shot, I had to walk a big banana, as we call it, way away from him. I had to walk past his cage, but I had to curve way away from him, just so that. And I mean, I've gone out there with hats and sunglasses and anything, and the girl, and he recognizes me, every time. By the way, there are other Gibbons in our film besides just Pepper and Violet, and I just wanted to mention some of their names: Pierre and Astrid, and Nate is her son. That's the one that doesn't like Astrid screwing around. Astrid has now been put together with Pierre, and they have a new baby. But I'll let Gabby talk about that. And then there's Vach, who is actually Pepper's living father, and Ricky. That's the one that was the leader of the morning song. Every morning and a couple times during the day, one Gibbon starts singing, and then they all start singing, and it's this big ebb and flow of, and I don't know why they stop. They do it a couple of times a day. Gabby can tell you exactly more when. And Pepper and Ricky was the one who started the morning song. And then when she passed away, Pepper, her daughter, took it up. And then there's Truman, that is now Violet's boyfriend or significant other, or whatever you want to phrase it. And I'm probably missing a couple more that are filmed. But I just wanted to make sure people didn't think it was just Violet and Pepper.
No, that's awesome. I know we're kind of closing up on an hour, so I just got a couple more questions for you, the three of you. This one I always like to ask all my guests, and I'm really curious, especially from a filmmaker perspective, because I've a lot of conservation experts. I can predict what they're going to say, but from your perspective, as our species, Homo sapien, humans, do we have a moral obligation to help these endangered species? I guess I'd like to Alex, and then Michael, and then Gabby.
So, in my opinion, big resounding yes. It's a lot more than our responsibility. It's almost a mandate. Recently, literally in the last week, finished a book by the name of Homo sapien, and it is the history of humans. Very, very interesting book. Highly recommend it. But also there's a section about the impact that humans have on everything else, on the animals and the planets and so on. There's a section that they talk about the numbers, how many species there were in a particular continent. For example, the Americas, before humans came in, and just in the last, like a couple of thousand years since, not since America as we know it now, but since humans came to the continent itself, the impact on the species, both the animal and the planet. And then I have this dire prediction that if we continue as in all indications that we will continue on the same route, very soon the only animals other than humans that will be left will be those that we need, like we need for food or for clothes or for things of that nature. This will be the only species left if we continue as we are. So yes, to answer your question, I really feel very strongly that both we have a responsibility, at least a responsibility, if not something that is higher order and mandate.
Yep. Michael?
I can't do any better than that.
Just add to that.
I can't ask. I really can't add to that. I'm going to pass to Gabby.
Okay, Gabby.
But a lot of the issues that happening right now with the problems, we are the cause. So we're causing the problem. So of course we are responsible, and but we're not an outside part of the ecosystem. So we're causing the problems, but we are also in it, and we don't completely understand the problems we are doing with each species. Each species, like the gibbons, a frog, a turtle, they all have a function. And sometimes we understand, sometimes we not. Like we know about gibbons that they eat fruits and they don't grind up the seeds, and as they digest it, they travel through the forest and they they suffocate the seeds and that grow more trees. So other primates too, and birds and elephants, they are kind of the gardeners of the forest, so they have very important functions. But there might be other ones, and there are species that we don't know what's their function, but it's all connected, and we're causing destruction, we're causing problems that we don't know what's going to happen next. So it's better not to mess with things. Although if we did, we are responsible fixing it and repairing it and protecting what's left and preserving what's left. And that's one thing. And the other thing is, like growing up, we had a small garden, and I was just fascinated by nature. I was fascinated each little ant and birds and everything. And I think what's around us evolved for millions of years ago, so I think they just have a right to exist. Just like we have the right to exist, then we have to kind of exist together and preserve things for not just for the Gibbons, for our staff, because we are part of it.
No, yeah, beautifully stated, and yeah, it's amazing what's going on out there. But like I said, Gabby, you're a conservation hero, and I know there's an army out there fighting for all these species. So we just need to help keep spreading the message, and I believe art and filmmaking is a major piece of that. That we just need to raise awareness and educate the masses on what's going on out there, and this film does that. I guess my final question is, we definitely will list on our show notes and our website, where they can see the film. The film's website is violetisbluedoc.com. And then the Gibbons Center, and we're going to have a separate podcast just on the Gibbons Center, but the Gibbons Center website is gibbonscenter.org. So our listeners can go there to learn more. But is there any other way our listeners can help?
So the center is open every Saturday and Sunday, and our biggest income coming from visitors. So if people local, they should come and see the center. Open every Saturday and Sunday from 9:30 to noon. We're also looking for volunteers, so if somebody have extra time and they want to work around endangered species and animals, they can also sign up to volunteer. And then they can also support us. Then doesn't matter where you are, you can donate us through our website and just support our mission.
Great. Alex or Michael, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so this is exactly as the center, the Gibbons Center that is have a great mission. So all the support that you can give them, either in volunteering or donation or just by spreading the word, is really appreciated. Individually, as Michael said and also Gabby said, this particular product that's called palm oil. This palm oil is the reason for deforestation that is impacting the habitat of the gibbons. Palm oil and in many products, these products, almost all of it has alternatives. So as you buy product, just be conscious of that. You will be helping with virtually no impact in you yourself.
For sure. Well, I just want to thank you three for taking the time out of your day to talk to us. It's an amazing film. Highly recommend it. I definitely will be pushing it through our listeners and really pray and hope I'm excited for the day you do get a distributor, because if this gets on Amazon or Netflix, it's an amazing documentary that people need to see, and what Gabby and her team go through day in, day out. It's an amazing, important message. So thank you. I know the Gibbons thank you for what you did and what you're doing.
I can hear them thanking me right now.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.